Hi, I'm Anthony from Sydney Backyard Veggies. Got to do a few things around in my patch today, but first things first, I need to come and continue harvesting my loose leaf lettuce. It's a job that I do every week. They're looking great at the moment. They are starting to bolt, but I am still able to get a few more harvests off these plants. So I'm going to come through, harvest what I can, probably leave these for another week and then pull them out and replace them with new plantings here. But I've also got my radishes just in the back there, French breakfast radishes, which I need to harvest as well. So I'm gonna go through first, see what harvest I can get off these plants. Still looking quite good, these leaves. Starting to yellow a little bit, but they should be fine at the moment. But I reckon there's another one last harvest from these before we call it a day on these plants. So I've gone through, harvested a lot and washed up the leaves, and I've got a decent harvest at the moment. That will last us for the week. Look, these plants now, I'm gonna call it for next week, one last harvest, and I will clear this bed, which is fine. They've done their thing, but they're just starting to get to that stage where they've bolted a bit too much and their leaves will start getting bitter. So it might be best to move them on. But the good news is I have later plantings of oak leaf lettuce, which I planted about 3 weeks ago, and they really are starting to form size. So once these are finished, I'll be picking those for meals. So that's fine. These have done their thing. Here I'm going to be planting pumpkins and watermelon in this bed. So once I clear this and I clear the rest of the veggies in this spot, I will be starting to plant out my pumpkin seedlings here. Butternut squash is what I'm going to be planting in this spot. I'm going to go now and harvest those radishes and see how much I can get out of that patch. So I planted these radishes here more as a filler in between crops. I had kohlrabi here previously, and when that was harvested, I decided to put in a quick crop of radish in here just to take up the space. Generally speaking, I do not like having my beds idle. I prefer to have stuff growing in the ground, and in this spot I decided to grow French breakfast radishes. They are there. Look, I've probably let them grow a bit too big. Ideally you don't want to pick them at that size. I'd prefer to pick them probably a couple of days ago when they're a bit thinner. It just stops them from going woody and piffy. It's kind of a really mushy feeling when you eat them. But no, this has been good. There's been a decent crop. I'll clear this bed now, which is great, and I'll prepare it to plant out my next crop in this location. But yeah, all in all, this has been a nice simple crop to grow in between my main plantings. So I'm gonna come through, harvest the rest, and give them a quick wash and see what I end up with. So I finished that harvest, and that's my crop. I really love the look of French breakfast radishes. They're just such a beautiful color, and that's from a small spot. I got probably 25 radishes here, so that's great. I'm happy to get quick crops like this out of my patch. They've been washed. I'm going to try to give them another rinse. I'm going to try to use most of the leaves. We could eat these fresh in salads or cook them if you like. These radishes will be eaten fresh, and I'll probably end up eating them tonight and put them in salads as well. So really happy with that. I'm going to try to see if I can plant a few more rounds of radishes in my patch in between my tomatoes and my broccolis, just so I take up that space before the plants grow into that area, the main crop. So just really easy way to interplant and get 2 harvests out of the one space. So take it easy inside. Got a few more things I've got to harvest today, but I'm going to work through those now. Now that we've come into the start of spring, I'm going to start my first round of sweet corn seedlings. Generally I do like to direct seed my seeds straight into the ground, but at this early part of spring, the soil's still a bit too cool to get proper germination for corn. So to get an early start on the season, I'm going to actually start growing out some seedlings. The variety that I'm growing is called Max. It's a hybrid variety sweet corn, and I found in past plantings this is a very gives out a very nice ear of corn, 1 to 2 ears, but also is quite disease resistant, I find, in my area. What I've done first is gone and soaked the seeds for a period of 2 days. Pre-soaking seeds for corn plantings is a must in my context, and what it does is it actually just fills up that water and starts that germination process. So to plant out these seedlings, I'm using my 100 cell tray. What I am using is standard seed raising mix, bagged seed raising mix. What I do try to find is seed raising mix that tends to be a lot less bark content in it. I prefer one with very little bark content as the one I've got here. And essentially I am just filling up the trays across the lot. Now that the seed tray is full, I'm just going to go through now and just give it a real good soak with the hose, just to really wet all that soil, and then I'll bring it in and have it planted out. So now that the tray is well watered, what I'm going to do is just plant my seeds individually in each of these trays. I'm going to just quickly just poke the soil in with my finger so that there's a spot for the seed to sit. And then with my seeds, we got right there, I'll just be planting 1 seed per cell. Just try to slightly push it in, and then from there I'll go and add my vermiculite. So now we've finished filling in this tray. Just going to get my vermiculite now and just spread a nice fine layer across the top of it. Once my seeds are planted, I cover the tray with some vermiculite. I find vermiculite works well in that it actually just provides just that light layer across the seed tray, and I feel it aids in germination of the seeds. I use it on all my seedlings that I raise, and it's worked for me well in the past. So what I do is I'm just gently spreading a layer of vermiculite across the whole tray, just to cover it all up, and then I make sure it just gets spread out, to make sure that all those seeds are covered. There's a fine layer across the whole tray, and that's it. I don't do anything further to this. There will be enough water in the tray to soak into the vermiculite to keep it down, and I won't water this tray until the seedlings germinate. Look, if they take longer than 6-7 days to germinate, I will look at potentially giving them a light spray, but generally speaking, corn in the right conditions should germinate in about 5 days. So what I'm going to do now is actually put this in a warm spot. I'll actually put this in my house, indoors, a heated spot in my place. They do need a bit of heat at this stage, but I feel that I can get them to germinate just in a heated part of my house. Fine, they don't need a heat mat. But yeah, that's it. So this is all planted now. I'm hoping to have these ready to plant out mid-September, and they'll go out into the garden as soon as I move those cabbages along in my main bed. Now, if you want to direct seed your corn seedlings into the ground, I would wait till my experience in Sydney, I would wait till the last week of September. I find that's when the soil gets warm enough to get proper germination. if you want to get your seedlings in earlier, I would pre-germinate and grow out my seedlings first in trays and then plant them out. So yeah, I'll come back to these in a couple of weeks time and give everyone an update of where they're at, and I will show you how I plant them out in later videos. I'm over at my Brussels sprouts patch, and at this point I'm going to be harvesting the lot. We're in September now and it's actually too late for Brussels sprouts to grow properly. It's just too warm, so they're starting to bolt. What I did was at the start of the week is I went through and topped all the plants, essentially cutting it at the top part of the plant to encourage the plants to put more of their energy into developing each of the sprouts. So far they look like they've grown a bit, but a lot of the lower ones have actually started to bolt. So I'll show you how they are looking at the moment. The idea is I'm going to pull these out, clear this bed, and look at planting more beans in this location in the coming weeks. I started a few new bean seedlings during the week, and so hopefully we'll be planting them out in this location. So I'm going to come through and just show you what they look like at the moment and then pull them out. So just to bring you in closer, what I've got, as you can see, the lower ones there are just starting to bolt. I'm finding that there's a lot of slug damage as well on my plants. So look, they're not going to get any better than this, so I'm going to have to harvest what I can. I'll just take the whole plot out and just freshen the soil for planting in another 2 weeks time, the beans. But look, it was a good crop to grow at the time. They do take a lot of effort and time and patience. These ones look okay actually, so these ones might be a good one to harvest as well. But come through now, take the whole lot out and see what we end up with. So now that I've harvested the last of my Brussels sprouts, I'm just gonna clear them up, clear off the leaves, see how I went, and just show everyone what I harvested. So just clearing off those leaves. Apologies everyone, I seem to have had a bit of a problem with my video in at the time when I picked those Brussels sprouts. So I wasn't able to show you the Brussels sprouts once I harvested them, but this is the lot that I collected from those 6 plants. I've actually gone through and popped off all the smaller ones off the plants. Got probably close to 1 kilo here. I will cook these tomorrow. I'll probably end up baking these and then cook and then probably pan frying them with a bit of speck or some sort like that. But I was hoping to be able to show everyone my harvest at the day, but gremlins came into my footage. Look, thanks a lot for joining me in today's video. I really appreciate the support I've been getting, and I hope to see you in the next one as I continue with my spring garden. Thanks a lot, everyone.